So really, scientist.com, what we are is we're an online marketplace that the pharmaceutical industry uses to source third-party services. So what we're trying to do is really speed up the sourcing cycle. That's the key driver of our sort of MVP, what we look to do, and add in additional benefits on top of that. So if we take the analyze section of the sourcing cycle first, what our platform enables a pharmaceutical company to communicate to their employees who they can use and for what purpose. So they can have approved supply lists, they can have defined or suppliers that are outside of that approved list, and really give transparency from the procurement perspective to the individual researcher when they're in the process of identifying or picking a supplier. We also provide tools to users to compare and contrast suppliers before they ever engage with them to identify the best supplier for their project. So we collect technical requests for information, for example, that are visible, that they can interrogate on the platform, and then make a decision on who to engage. Once they've been engaged, we move into the execute phase of the cycle. And the platform enables users to send our requests, or send out requests, should I say, to individual or multiple companies, the same as you would in a normal RFP. What you can do is receive quotes back, and those quotes back are governed by a pre-negotiated agreement. So that's one of the real strengths of our platform, is everyone who uses it has already signed up to the same agreements. So to put that into context, that's 4,000 suppliers and over 100 different pharmaceutical companies don't have to do contracting anymore because they can work through the platform on pre-negotiated terms. The researchers or procurement can then compare those quotes side by side, and they can make a selection on who to move forward with, and get this work starting. So I think on average in the human biological sample space, 20% of RFPs that go out get a purchasable quote back the very same day. Wow. So that can be, you can see the impact then on the sourcing cycle, that you can go from quote to purchase in a 24-hour period with a company that potentially you've never worked with before, but it's with the exact same protections as one that you've got many years relationship with. So then if we move to the evaluate section, the platform we provide access to enhanced metrics on supply performance. And each organization can capture confidential feedback from their users on a supplier's performance so that they can help other users in their decision-making process. A real power behind any business is for information flow to the correct people. So if you think about it from a user perspective, you can have a researcher in America who's never worked with a supplier, and you can have a researcher in Europe who's got a really strong relationship with them. Through our platform, what we look to do is transfer the knowledge of one to the other so that they can make a more informed decision. It can remove the need to send out RFPs. It can remove the need to send out detailed questionnaires, etc. And again, look to speed it up and consolidate that company information. And then lastly, on the assess cycle, part of the cycle, should I say, we provide support directly to procurement on the overall relationship with a specific supplier that's conducted through our marketplace, obviously. And this is important because it can help them identify strategically important suppliers where they may want to develop a closer relationship. It enables them to conduct evaluations on the entire market so that they can utilize our platform to capture key information on new suppliers. It could be a supplier that's bringing innovation that wasn't there when they last did their category strategy. And they can do this prior to engagement and determine the future strategy so that when you move back into that analyze, you can influence the researcher when they start the sourcing cycle again.
So Matt, though, scientist.com, you mentioned pharmaceuticals, but you also work with biotech companies as well, don't you?
Yeah, so we got a diverse client base. So we have 24 of the top major pharmaceutical companies who put research through us. Some of them actually mandate categories through us. So they do their entire category strategy through the platform because of the capabilities that it enables them, the transparency, the visibility, the control really around that they can't get off platform. But yet we support over 100 different biotechs from across the globe. So we have customers based in West Coast US all the way through to Japan and Australia. And from a supplier perspective, as I say, we have about 4,000 suppliers now on the platform. And all of those, for example, have gone through due diligence. So before a supplier joins our platform, We will conduct extensive due diligence on that supplier before they're permitted access to clients, and we'll repeat that on a regular basis. So we do look at things like anti-bribery, anti-corruption, data privacy, confidentiality, employment principles, etc. Again, it's a key part of the sourcing cycle is that you know your suppliers properly. And what we try to do is do it once on behalf of the industry, so that from a supplier perspective, they don't have to do due diligence with over 100 plus clients. It's already done up front for them, and can be a real benefit from an indirect cost saving perspective. One of the benefits for both clients and suppliers is that when we set up with a client, we will integrate into their procurement system. So Coupa, SAP, for example. So that means from a customer's perspective, they can access 4,000 suppliers without having to set up 4,000 profiles within their SAP or their Coupa system. And they still get transparency to the spend because they have all of the data behind it. From a supplier's perspective, the benefit is that they don't have to set up in every single client's Coupa or SAP system. They just invoice us. We handle the billing and the payments. And because of that, what we can offer is we have things like supply chain financing that we make available to suppliers, so they can determine what their payment terms are. So if a supplier so wished, they could get paid in as little as 10 days, versus when you work directly with a pharmaceutical company, you're lucky to get less than 60. Normally it's 75 days. Sometimes it's even longer.